Morning, fellow zombies. Did we just crawl out of bed? 'Cause I sure as hell did. Sleep deprived still and emotionally screwed up. Sounds about right. You're a zombie. We were John C. Roseman, California, I hear. Yeah, 7 in the morning, West Coast time for Saturday, the 15th of June, 2024. 1 second, please. Okay, so I guess your proverbial Father's Day is coming up, isn't it? Oh, good Lord, we're in trouble now. Okay, today you're supposed to say, Happy Father's Day, Daddy. Some of us would like to just growl at the whole damn thing, saying, Why did you curse me with that one there, kid? But, Daddy, it's Father's Day. Err. Yeah, I'm in that kind of a mood this morning. No, I didn't have the theoretical father. No, what I had was a hit and run sperm donor, and that was about it. How many of those guys still exist these days? Think they get a good thing going with a young lady or someone else for that matter. And then, oh, I'm sorry, but you were. Oh well, sorry, well, it was just a good fling that we had. So I'm not quite sure, but maybe we'll see each other sometime. But you got me pregnant. Well, whose fault was that? You wanted it. Yeah, I just opened up a huge Pandora's box on that one, didn't I? Blame the woman for the situation. The guy was still horny enough anyway. Can I say the H word? Was he that high on his own chemicals in his brain that he wanted that? So, in order to satisfy it, I don't want to get gross. I don't want to get off the charts on that one there. Because basically, Pandora's box on this one. All I'm saying is, I had one that was totally into my mother. My brother had already been born, so he was already used goods. So he could be tolerated to a point. But me, I come out, he's nowhere to be found. Where's the dad? I don't know. What happened to dad? Took off, left. Bastard didn't disconnect the phone. Well, whatever arrangements he had with my mother, he sure as hell didn't have a good enough relationship or arrangements with his offspring, his product, his mistake. Because this kid felt like that all his life. Victimized. Much like probably some other kids who've also felt the same way. Fathers did the hit and run and left. And just stayed hidden. Of course, Ma did all she could to raise me. And I don't blame her for that. I don't. I had a big brother who struggled with his own situations, his own issues. And I don't blame him for that. They loved me and I loved them back. But the thing of it is, I never had a good feeling about my old man, or if I can call him that. No, I just called him a biological sperm donor. That's about it. A lot of hatred, a lot of anger, a lot of vitriol, a lot of just disgusting things, and felt like I was ashamed for myself. Let's get let's get real about it. I know this could be the whiner situation, where I could whine constantly about how rotten my father was. I never knew my dad. That's the problem. If I knew what kind of a rotten son of a sea dog he was, or if I can say a rotten son of a biscuit eater, I wouldn't call him a female dog in heat. That's for damn sure. No, I'll call him a biological sperm donor. That's about it. That's the worst insult I can ever label on a schmuck in the first place. Did I want to get to know him? Yeah. Ma gave me the handset. I was about 5. And I was excited to talk to my dad at the time. Well, a kid would. He hangs up on me. But before that, we had a very short conversation. Jack, this is your son. John, here. Hi, Dad. Who is this? It's your son, John. Who? Your son, John Weaver. Click. Dad? Dad? He hung up. She called, and he didn't answer. Whatever arrangements my mother and my biological sperm donor had during that time, I think went up in smoke. Because we were never able to find him ever again. But he would mail, to a point, um, checks to support me. Not much. But he did hide. He hid. And kept hiding. And kept running. To where we never found him again. So I never knew if he was alive, dead, or whatever. My brother, maybe one or twice times in his life, tried to hire private detectives. He couldn't find them. There was no information. So, I think, just speaking on behalf of myself, not anybody else, that my dad, I could call him every rotten name in the book. I could label him every rotten name in the book, or anything else for that matter. Truth be told, I'm getting too damn old and tired for this shit. If he's already been gone and dead a long time ago, there's nothing I can do about it. If he had any inheritance, he blew it a long time ago, and I'll never see a damn dime out of him. It wasn't a damn dime I was looking for. I was looking for a biological sperm donor who was going to be actually a dad or a father. One second. I think I need to get a haircut for my hair. It's a Pandora's box coming up with Father's Day tomorrow, I guess. That I have to feel this way every single time. Sometimes I half the time I resent and hate the damn day like crazy, and jealous of those who actually have one. That they actually have a father to say Happy Father's Day. Actually mean it. My brother and I would have arguments over this. The dearly departed. Get that camera angle fixed again. Here we go. That's better. So how would dear old my big brother be able to deal with his father? Him growing up, he was 8 years younger than I was. So in his youth, up until a teenage point. He was actually able to get some kind of a relationship with him and the stepbrothers. He didn't like very much. They didn't like him very much either. My brother wouldn't take shit from anybody. His old man he would, but he still resented the crap out of him. He liked his grandparents a lot better. They had a family bull that they grew to know for years until, like all creatures, when they meet their time, they meet their time. And the grandparents said that the bull was delicious, but they did a both father and grandparents, I guess, had their own respective properties. One of them was a rancher. Grandparents weren't the ranchers. I don't know about the old man. But for what David told me about him, what Ma had told him, and my brother learned a lot. He was former army cook. So either World War II or Korea, one of those two. So he was good at cooking. Massive amounts of food for people. And when he met my mother, she was a teenager. A teenager with attributes he liked. And she was about 15. In Texas, you can marry young. But she and Grandma and the rest of the family, biological kin, were in Ohio, in Utah. Somehow she wooed his heart, and he swept her off her feet. In Texas, they married. She lived out there for a few years. She had my brother. One night, he came home drunker than anything and beat the crap out of her. Went to bed. My mother had enough. That must have been a hell of a long fuse right there. I mean, a short fuse. But Ma said there was a house, a very beautiful house that he bought her, and she was comfortable until he sold it. Pissed her off. But I guess in that time when he got drunk and beat the crap out of her, she had enough. She was going to leave. Take David back to Utah. So she beat the crap out of him. Tied him up, left, filed papers for divorce. For a long time, Dave Dave was allowed to go over to Texas every summer, spend time with the grandparents and spend time with his father. Dave was telling me that they didn't like California ways, such as bringing a squeeze tube of processed cheese with you. There was this facility a long time ago. I can't find it anywhere. But it was an indoor lake for fishing. Some things you could bring in and other things you can't. But in order to get in a good haul for fish, David didn't follow the rules. He brought squeeze cheese. Fish took to it like crazy. People wondered how come he was getting all the fish. He improvised. He adapted. He overcame. He cheated. He laughed about that one every time he kept telling me the story about that growing up. But not so much with the relationship with him and the stepbrothers. or his own father. He had a better relationship with grandma and granddad. I wish I had the chance to know them. I wish I had a chance to go over there with them, but didn't. I guess Ma didn't like me to do traveling, and she wasn't very much for traveling either. Staying home, taking care of me and my own damn issues. That's what happens when you get out of mother's womb. You're too damn early. I wanted to get out of there, I guess, real fast, real bad. So I came out with crooked limbs and a holy heart, literally. Plumbing issues. That's why, age of 4 years old, open heart surgery. Open heart surgery. 3 times upstairs and 3 times back. But they managed to patch one hole, subbed the other one, and kept the other one leaking until I got older. And then there was nothing else because it was already done. My brother and I would have arguments. There have been some times my brother would appreciate his own dad, especially when he worked as a truck driver. Worked his way up a company chain to becoming a vice president of supplies or something like that. Logistics. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So I remember that. I remember some of those kind of stories that my brother actually had. And I kept them in my head on that one. And I would argue with my brother. Because every time my brother kept saying something bad about his father, I said, hey, at least you knew the guy anyway. I didn't know mine, so what's the major malfunction? Well, he was this and he was that, and sometimes I wish I didn't know about it. Yeah, well, he was with you for a time. You get to know the guy. You knew the guy. Well, sometimes he bullshit this and he said crap like this and yeah, and he also gave you the love of the road. And say that to him. Wish I had. No, I wish I had told my brother about that one. That there was a bit of a passion. Something sparked in my brother as a kid. And so one day, my brother's in a show and tell, or something similar to that effect, concerning about careers. And my brother told him truck driving. Teacher and the students laughed at him until David Counter said, hey, where do you think you get your stuff and your food from? The tooth fairy? That comes from a trucker, man. It comes from a trucker. It comes from ships. It comes from everywhere else. But a trucker brings them in. Brings in your clothing. Brings in your food. So don't disrespect the truck drivers. He always had a thing concerning about truck driving. He had a love of the truck and he had great respect for the truck drivers. My brother would call them the last great American cowboys, or stagecoach riders, anyway. 17, 1800s to the early 19, you had stagecoach. You had supplies being brought in either by wagon or by stagecoach, and people transported. The modern day trucker or modern day bus driver does the same thing. Even trains. So he had a thing about transportation, my brother did. So there was one day that in our adult life, I think back in my late 20s or early 30s, Dave and I are going over to see his father for the first time in a long while. Well, for me, first time ever in my life. I had seen a picture of him. He looked a little older than that. Looked a little older than that. I remember the picture of his old man. It meant a great deal to my brother sometimes. He wouldn't have it prominently hung, but he had to have it hung in a bedroom or display area. But I remember seeing him, and I met him. Graying hair, 50s, 60s looking. Life had worn him down a bit, but he was still doing. My brother had already been through. He was going through recovery, so if his father was drinking, my brother already had our sodas, so we didn't worry about that. There was a meeting happening out in Bell Gardens, I think, and my brother's father liked to do a bit of gambling, so why not? And besides the hotel over there, the convention was there, so the meeting that they actually had on the West Coast. He said my brother's father, actually had a motel a little off the area. That's where we met him at. You would think this guy would be so impressive by my brother's descriptions. He really wasn't. He's like everyday Joe Schlo. Was frumpy looking, but he did have tall stories coming out of him, just like my brother. My brother was a talker. He inherited it from his father. So I sat back and listened. And then after we listened to the stories and I shook his hand, I think he gave me a bear hug. We laughed, and my brother was still shaking his head, cursing and cussing out. See, I told him, "What the hell your problem is? You got to see your old man. Do you believe this and you believe that? And yada 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 yada." I'm like, "I'll give it a fucking break, Dave." What? You had contact with the guy? Yeah. Sometimes I wish I didn't. Yeah. Why not? Well, he does. He said, "Yeah, at least you had contact with him, you asshole." Where's my dad? I don't know. Yeah, either do I. Feel lucky that you still have a father. Well, I don't know if I call him a father. Yeah, I call him a father. The year that we were going to be getting evicted out of our trailer home, 2 or 3 decades later, in that time period, or actually shortly before then, I lost track how many wives my father-in-law or father-to-be or whatever I'd call him that. He was on his he was at home back in Texas. I'm trying to remember the story. That's why I'm hesitating a little bit here and there. Sipping Phil and ice. Cracked his head. He was getting mail. He was getting mail. And got himself into a coma. My brother and I had already received Christmas presents from him. Walmart gift cards. It's a thought that counts. He acknowledged me as a son he wished he had adopted. So he considered me an unofficial son. My brother felt that was very cool. I wish I kept the card. Because to me it was like a physical extension of I actually had a father. I could you know, try to acknowledge and try to celebrate. Him, I would. Him, I would. Harry Shaw. David Shaw. Eleanor Shaw, my mother. But everybody called her Mary Ann because that was her real name, actually. If I'd be celebrating Father's Day, I'd be celebrating him. He may have been a rotten son of a bitch, according to my brother's viewpoint a long time ago, but he did give my brother some values. He did help my brother out a few things. And he was there. He was there. May not have been perfect. It wasn't supposed to be. I don't know if Ma ever talked to him ever after the divorce, but my brother tried to keep in contact with him. I don't know if my brother actually talked to Ma about it. I hope so, because that would have been a coup right there. That Ma would have known that my brother was in contact with his father all the time. I don't remember the conversations between Ma and Dave regarding that one, though, but at least she knew that Dave was still trying to keep in contact with him and had good relations. Well, that's good. And I had one father who actually cared enough about me to keep track of how I'm doing. That should have been the opposite right there for me. That should have been the opposite right there. Because that would have told me that I actually had a father to give a shit about me. And not the biological sperm donor. I always kept expecting a knock at the door or a phone call or these days text message or something saying that I represent your father and we need to talk, or I'm a relative and we need to talk. We need to talk about your dad. Maybe. I don't know much about him. My mother purported him to be an engineer who designed some kind of equipment and made money off of it. Who was a magician who had membership over the Magic Castle. Who actually had a yacht that they sailed on that fateful night, whatever it was, where I actually came to be. But for the most part, she said he was a funny guy, a warm, funny guy. Except he never got into the history concerning about his own family issues, whether or not if he actually had something with his own family that he couldn't deal with. And I kept trying to ask myself, was it fear? Because the only thing I know that would keep a guy away from the kids is fear. What is it about them that makes him afraid of kids so much he has to be angry at them all the time? And I should be asking myself on this situation because I'm also showing that too much these days. I had an intolerance for kids. Going into adulthood, I had an intolerance for the younger brats. I called them brats. My cousins were brats. Not the adult-like. The ones older than I am. But the other ones, my mother kept insisting I give away my stuff to. Because they didn't have any. And it should be right. It was my collectible stuff. No, John, you need to get rid of it. You need to give it to them. My action figures, my toys, my diecast. I ain't giving away my Lego. Give away your Lego. I'm not giving away my Lego to anybody. No. Well, I had to give away my Lego in my adulthood. Sometimes I wish I hadn't. But as for my father, I never had contact at all. Never knew what happened to him. I was actually never able to celebrate Father's Day, and my brother didn't celebrate it as much either. We celebrated Mother's Day because that was more important. Mama was there, and if she didn't get her due, she would let. Oh, I'm not going there because she'd be coming out from the grave on that one. She'd be coming out over here saying, "John Weaver, what do you think you're doing?" Hi, Ma. Uh, what can I do? Say and help you here. I'm so dead. Yes, you will be. Mother's Day, I was taught the hard way. Never forget it. Even when I'm an adult stage and she's already long gone, never forget it because I'm forgetting her. I don't forget her birthday. When was it again? I don't forget her anniversary for passing either. I don't forget Christmas. I don't forget Thanksgiving. I don't forget Easter. I sure as hell don't forget Mother's Day. Father's Day I can deal without. I'm not going to make a salute to all you folks out there who have actually had fathers who are deadbeat dads who screwed you over one way or another. That's on you guys. I'm telling you my story of how I went through it. And it sucks. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of things to go over. And I need to because if I don't know how else I'm not going to be able to get through it. So I'll probably throw in another video, I guess.